Welcome to an UltraScale quick take video on setting up PCI Express simulations with the Mentor Graphics Questa verification IP using the pipe interface. When running PCI Express simulations, do you spend a lot of time waiting for the simulations to complete? Do you feel like you've already watched all the cat videos the internet has to offer, and your boss is getting upset that you haven't closed coverage yet, and the design is due to ship very soon? If this sounds like you, except maybe the cat part, then you'll want to keep watching. In this video, we will show you how to set up pipe mode when configuring your Xilinx PCI Express IP. Using pipe mode effectively removes all of the transceivers from the simulation, which can speed up simulation times. So for a by 8 design, this means 8 less transceivers to simulate. And if you're using the example PCIe simulation environment from Xilinx, you are removing twice that many transceivers from the simulation, so 16 transceivers in total. After you know how to enable the pipe interface on the Xilinx PCIe IP, we will show you how to connect it to Mentor Graphics Questa verification IP, or QVIP for PCI Express. While the pipe mode speeds up simulation time, QVIP is designed to make you more productive by putting in place a complete PCI Express verification framework based on System Verilog and UVM. It has test suites, coverage, test plans, and protocol debug all set up and ready for customization based on your needs. Starting in 2016, Mentor Graphics is making PCIe QuickStart kits available on their SupportNet website. These QuickStart kits dramatically reduce the bring-up time to get a working design. The kits are available for either serial mode or pipe mode, but can only be configured to support an endpoint. We are going to walk through how to download one of these kits and connect it to our PCIe core that we have generated with the pipe interface. Let's go ahead and walk through an example of getting all of this up and running. So the first thing we do is get Vivado opened, and we'll go ahead and create a new project. So let's give that project a name. We're going to put pipe on the end of that name so that we know this is our pipe interface for simulation. We'll go ahead and also select the KCU 105 board in case we want to take this design to hardware. That will make it very easy to do. So once we have that design open, let's open the IP catalog, and we will select the PCI Express core. We're going to make this a by 8 Gen 3 design. We will select the KCU 105 board, and then here you see we check the enable external pipe interface, and that is what will make it so that our simulation, when it runs, has a pipe interface instead of the transceivers. Now we could make further changes to this core. We could change bars. As you see here, we're going to leave it as is. We'll go ahead and generate that piece of IP. Now that we have the XCI file, the easiest way to use this in example design is to right-click on that XCI and to say Open IP Example Design. We'll go ahead and put it in that same directory, and that's going to create an example design directory that has the example design as well as our IP core configured just how we configured it here. So now before we can simulate, we need to actually compile the Questa libraries and get those pre-compiled. So we can do that by going to the Tools menu, selecting on Pre-compile the libraries. We'll go ahead and put this into a directory where we know that it's going to be. We could compile it into the project. I like putting it a level up so I can use it for other projects. Now what we're going to do here first is we're going to run through Questa with just the Xilinx standard example design. Now this example design that Xilinx has is a task-based example design. It's good for creating very simple reads and writes and configuration reads and writes, but it's not really all that complex. So if you need something with more features like a UVM test bench with the ability to do more complex verification, then QVIP is the way to go. So we go ahead and run simulation here, run behavioral simulation, and you'll see that the design will compile, and we'll go ahead and do run-all, and that will run all of our code. And you'll see that it's almost nearly instantaneous how long it takes to run through the example design. Now with the transceivers in there, it takes a much longer time, but by removing those transceivers, all we're now doing is simulating two PCI Express cores back to back with a little bit of code. And it does link up, and then it does configuration of the device and a couple simple reads and writes. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at QVIP and how we would do this. So the first thing we do is in the Mentor website, you can see I've already added the Questa verification IP to my products. I would download this and install this if you haven't done so. That would be your first step. Once you've installed QVIP, then you can go and download the QuickStart kits. And as you see here, we've got a QuickStart kit that just came out in 2016. And we'll go ahead and download that file. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and to create a directory where I'm going to put this QVIP kit. I'll go ahead and copy over that zip file that I downloaded. And once I have it, I will go ahead and untar it and unzip it, not necessarily in that order. And there'll be multiple tarballs that are in there. There'll be the pipe mode, there's a serial mode that's in there. So this is a kit that has more than just one configuration. So we'll go ahead and unzip the pipe mode. And once we do that, we'll go into that directory, and we'll see that there's quite a few files in here that will help us get up and going. First thing to look at is a README file. It will list all the different files that are available. In the Questa run script, you'll see that first command is vsim, or the second line there is vsim-c-do compile xilinx.tcl. That's the file that we're going to need to create here in just a minute. But before we do that, let's go ahead and copy over the modelsim.ini file from the compiled libraries directory. Now when we copy over that modelsim.ini file, that is going to have pointers to all of the pre-compiled libraries that we're going to need to run this simulation. So we'll go ahead and get that copied over, take a quick peek at it here, and you will see that all of the libraries that we need are in place. All right, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and create that compile file that we need to implement. As you see here, we've got multiple different commands. The first one it compiles the source files. The second file there that you see that is the simulation library, that points to the location of the pipe top level file for simulation. And when you implement the design, you'll actually use a different file in that location because that file will have the actual serial transceivers built into it. And then you can see further down we have the Xilinx example design files, and then finally the GLBL that we need for full simulation. So once we have that, we can go ahead and run our Questa_run script. And when we do that, it will go ahead and compile both the example design and the PCI Express core with pipe mode enabled, as well as the Questa VIP PCI Express IP, and it comes with a standard sequence that will do simple configuration of our PCI Express design. So it will link up to Gen 3x8, and then we'll see a bunch of configuration packets that go across the link. Now, we've not sped up the video, so you'll notice it takes a little bit longer to run, but we are running a complete UVM test bench, including functional coverage and scoreboarding. Now, there's a bunch of files that will get created. We'll look at one of them here, ds_PCIe TLP file, and that will let us look at different types of packets that are traversing back and forth across the link. That wraps up our example. From here, you can go about adding different sequences to quickly test the things that you care about. Using pipe mode to not have to simulate transceivers saves you time, and using QVIP PCIe QuickStarter kits gets you ready to quickly write complex sequences to test and cover more of your design. Using these features will make your boss happy, your products ship on time, and allow the internet time to come up with new cat videos that you haven't seen yet. Try out pipe mode with QVIP in your next Xilinx PCI Express project.